everybody. It's lovely to be here with you. What we're doing throughout this little series is using Brené Brown's Braving, which is an acronym, and that acronym helps us to know how to trust others and gives us all the components of trust. So the first component was boundaries, and the definition of that was, I trust you if you are clear about your boundaries and you hold them, and you are clear about my boundaries and respect them. So we talked a bit about that in Anxiety with Attitude Part 1. We also talked about how we automatically Nike every day. Whether we like it or not, and it didn't matter what speed we did it or not, we all went, I've got to get up and get on with it. This week, we want to talk about reliability. So reliability in the building of trust is, I trust you if you do what you say you are going to do, not just once, but over and over again. Now, I want you to think about another side to that. If you turned it around to, I don't trust you if you don't do what you say you're going to do, not just once, but over and over again. It'd be really handy to have that around and remind yourself that people who don't do what they're going to say are the ones you don't trust. But as we're concentrating on building trust within us, we're going to flip it around to, I trust myself when I do what I say I am going to do, not just once, but over and over again. Because of all the variations, we can only speak generally, but a lot of us have had trust stripped from us. And so we have to rebuild it from within, and we do it through behaviour. So whilst this helps see if somebody else is reliable as a part of trust, it also begins to help you build up self-value. You learn to value yourself because you learn to do and what you say you're going to do, and you do it repeatedly. When I was thinking about this today, an affirmation came to me of, I am valued. And when you look at self-value actually increases within us as we value other people. Think about the opposite when we devalue others. So when we're tearing strips off someone behind their back, or, we've got a grumpy on because things didn't go how we wanted, or they're not panning out how we planned, and things like that, and we devalue others because of it, we actually are devaluing ourselves as well. Think about the feeling that you get when you devalue somebody else. You really feel blah in yourself. Well, it certainly doesn't give you any feelings of compassion and understanding or anything, really. It's all negative. That's the bottom line. It's all negative. So how are we going to value ourselves in order to rebuild our trust from within? The rebuilding of the trust. And we're doing this to ease the anxiety. One part is your physical well-being. Really take into account where your physical well-being is at. If life's not happening how you want it to, then research. We've got the internet these days, use it. There are so many people that write so many articles that can help. It's just, to me, it's like what a blessing in itself that we get to get on and put a few words in Google and up comes information. Which reminds me, I found 2 articles for this on self-value which are very interesting, and I will post their links in the comments down below so that you can go through them and get a deeper understanding of them. You don't need me sitting here going on and on about it. You just want the core of it. With your physical well-being, what is one thing that you can do to increase your physical well-being? Certainly with anxiety, please seek medical help always. It's not right for everybody, but at least get a greater understanding of what's happening for you physiologically. It is important. And if you're getting natural help, and look, I've got clients that only take a natural tablet and it's enough for them. They don't need medication, but it's enough. Actually, for the 2 ladies I know that take it, it's enough for them not to have depression. If you can find things that work for you, that's important. That's an important part of your physical. And look, if the medical's not working for you, don't stop at the doctor who's not helping you. Always seek a doctor that will help you find what suits you and your particular chemical makeup. Okay, with our emotional well-being, in order to create value, we want to honour our deepest values. Think about times in your life when you've put your values to one side, and I think we do this more often when we're younger. I can only really think of it in the opposite context. There were things in my first marriage that I stood up for, things that mattered to me, how I wanted to raise my children. That was something that was of the deepest value to me, that my children experienced a better emotional upbringing, and certainly not as dysfunctional, than I did. In order for that to happen, one, I had to leave an abusive marriage, but two, I also had to do a lot of research and a lot of self-growth as well. When you're honouring your deepest values, you actually will say no, which is something we talked about in part one, how important it is to say no, but know what your deepest values are. And your deepest values are things that you will fight for too. They come out in what you are prepared to make a stand for no matter what. They're an important part of your journey. When we've gone through these challenges and stressful lives, it's very easy for us when we survey our environment to see a lot of negatives. When we see negatives in our environment, we can feel down, we feel resentful, we feel angry, we feel anxious, we can blame others for why we're feeling like this. Trust me, it's really easy to do. I used to know a lady who, and honestly, no judgment, she went through absolute hell to get out of her marriage. But when she got out, there was not thankfulness, and believe me, she got bundles and bundles of help in every way. But it was still always everybody else's fault. The one common denominator in your life in every situation is you. And I say this with the deepest heart. When you're the common denominator in your life, it's up to you to take responsibility and be the change. And it's super hard when you have struggled, when you have suffered from abuse, suffered from major stresses that put some people under, to stand up and say that I'm capable of being the change in my life. I actually didn't understand this concept, and I think it was 3 or 4 years ago I was listening to someone talk, give a speech, a sermon or something, and they made the comment, not unkindly, about how once you leave home, you're responsible for your life. Not your parents, not anyone else, just you. And when I sat down and thought about it, I understood what he meant, but I also realised that that responsibility has to become a conscious responsibility. It's not I'm an adult and I'm doing things because I'm an adult. It's a real conscious responsibility and a conscious awareness of, if I do this, what's going to happen next. So we have to take that conscious responsibility for our lives and what is happening for us. And this is what we're here for too, is to have a conscious responsibility for what's happening in our life with the anxiety. Okay, so in order to flip how you survey your environment and flip it into an environment of value, you want to turn it around and look around and see you and appreciate what you have. Enjoy what you have. Take an interest in what you have and how you want to grow it from there. And if anyone or anything says you can't, just turn your head the other way and say, yeah, I can. Just one thing. One thing once a day makes all the difference a year from now. It's the ripple effect. We all know it really well, but it does make a difference. And so the next one for self-value is act on what's important. And I know as a mother, it can be really, really super easy to ignore what's important to me, and act on what everyone else has lined up for me. But I'm learning to act on what is important for me. I want you to think about what's important for you. Nobody else can do it. But what's important for you, and what actions would you like to take? And the last thing, when you're feeling devalued, so when somebody treats you super bad because of their own garbage, baggage, whatever you want to call it, choose to change your feelings to feelings of compassionate, kindness, understanding, loving, caring, because we don't know what's happening in somebody else's life. That's true, and that gets around the internet fairly well. But how about we just do it because it's going to make us feel better? It's going to make us feel better about ourselves. It's going to make us feel better to value other people and be able to treat them with love and kindness and caring, etc., etc. And I was reading in the article how self-value is so important because it evens out the playing field in life too. So when people mention self-esteem, or you've got to esteem yourself, it comes across as a hierarchy, there's layers. But when we have value, it all comes from within and we spread it around to other people. And then when you do it often enough, it just exudes from you. And people will come up to you and say, oh, thank you for being so kind. Thank you for thinking of me. It's a really nice place to be. And it helps with the anxiety. When we change our behaviour, it helps us change the anxiety as well. So the anxiety retreats because we're learning to value ourselves. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye.